Hello everybody and Happy New Year, hope you're all doing well. Today we have a little bit of a different video here on the channel, kind of touching on NASCAR gaming in 2023. What better way to start off the new year than talk about a hot topic in reality here. NASCAR gaming is arguably at the worst place it's been in just over a decade now. As you guys remember, when EA gave up the license to NASCAR gaming before we got your Technics to come in, that was of course a dark point of NASCAR gaming, or a dark age, but now we're kind of right back in that. But at the same time, we still have a company that has a license to NASCAR games, and that is, well, Motorsport Games, and they have been in the news a lot recently. We're not going to dive into the specifics, but obviously things not looking necessarily good on the forefront of Motorsport Games right now, and not only for NASCAR gaming titles, but the IndyCar game in 2023 that's supposed to come out, and boy have they been in the news recently with gaming licenses. But the BTCC game and so many things right now with Motorsport Games not looking very good. I think the question that we all have is, after the absolute disaster of NASCAR 21 Ignition that came out in October of 2021, and no new NASCAR game aside from NASCAR Rivals, but no new NASCAR game in 2022 that was a multi-platform game, what happens from here? Where do we go from here in the NASCAR gaming industry? So we look at the timeline. NASCAR 21 Ignition releases, it's an absolute disaster, fresh off of NASCAR Heat 5, which was given a lot of criticism, but now looking back at it, the game was fantastic compared to what we currently have. I myself really always enjoyed NASCAR Heat 5, although it was more on the arcade side. It was a lot of fun for myself. The AI racing was fantastic more times than not, but NASCAR 21 Ignition comes out under the development and publishing of Motorsport Games late 2021, and it was the worst NASCAR gaming release in history of my time NASCAR gaming, which goes back to about NASCAR 2011, with my first game was actually NASCAR 2009 that I ever played. But of course, that game, such a rocky release with 21 Ignition, bug-filled, everything was wrong, the AI disappeared on tracks at times, it was so bad. And we fast forward to the 1-year mark of that game releasing, October 2022, and it felt like we had made no progress. You look at, we of course got DLCs for NASCAR 21 Ignition. We ended up getting a next-gen update, the 2022 update, as well as they added some DLC packs for that 2022 update. Constant bug fixes and whatnot, but you go to, like I said, the year later, and I played it again in November, which would have been just after the year point, and it felt like we had not gone anywhere. We had brought in new cars, but it was still riddled with issues, and it's crazy to think that it went a whole year and the game is still a complete disaster. You still can't have a proper race at the majority of the circuits without getting absolutely demolished by the AI head on into the outside wall or inside wall, whatever. As well, online actually, for my experience, online got worse. There was that bug where if you had like more than, I think it was 12 cars was the number, that some would start in the pit lane and some would start at the track, and the ones in the pit lane would have AI control like all the way till the start finish line or something like that. Like, how do you do that a year later? I don't really know. But of course, you look at, aside from NASCAR 21 Ignition, what other NASCAR gaming products released? We had NASCAR Rivals, which that one's an easy one because that is the 704 product from NASCAR Heat 5 that's ported over to the Nintendo Switch, and it was originally, the NASCAR Heat Ultimate Edition or whatever it was called, and then they changed it into NASCAR Rivals with the next-gen car. But the scary part about that game to me is I've been playing that relatively regularly every week, putting out a series here on the channel with a career mode, and we can kind of see that all of the content that was developed and brought over from 704 Games, it all works pretty well. It works fine, just like it used to, but the stuff developed by Motorsport Games, like the new Atlanta or the new Circuit of the Americas, those tracks that have had the AI reworked by Motorsport Games development, it's a complete disaster compared to the 704 side of things. And you of course had the 2022 update for NASCAR Mobile come out as as well with Rivals. So you had three things right there: the mobile update, the Rivals game on Nintendo Switch only, and then you had the 2022 NASCAR Ignition update that you can't even play career mode with. So I'm not going to get into that one. But then we have, of course, the NASCAR Heat 5 DLC. That's the big question mark, and this one really is the most disappointing one to me personally. You know, I of course kind of got going here on YouTube from NASCAR Heat 5, and you look at this DLC, and this is the first thing since the absolute train wreck of Ignition that I feel like the NASCAR community has been wanting from Motorsport Games and been pushing for, and it seems to be the one thing that Motorsport Games cannot find a way to get out to save their lives. Now, it is pretty easy to track this DLC with the Steam DB website. I'll put a link down below, try and show it on screen as well. And you can see we kind of speculated that this was happening before it actually was announced, because there was a beta all of a sudden thrown into the mix on the Steam DB website and whatnot. And that beta is still active to this current moment that I'm making the video. That's probably going to go out, I would say, about 5-6 hours from the time that I am currently making this video. But the last update that we had on this game was 23 days ago. The beta, the last beta update 25 days ago, 23 days ago, was actually some like changes to multiplayer. But as well, one little other thing is that kind of goes along with it. The actual base game of NASCAR Heat 5 was updated 11 days ago. But nonetheless, the beta for the 2022 DLC has not been updated in nearly a whole month. Now, is that because of the holiday season? I don't know. Of course, we're just getting out of that now. If it is not due to that, then that is pretty terrifying. That is the longest break between updates since that beta actually went live on the Steam DB website. So that could mean two things. You know, it's done and we're just waiting for an announcement, or it's completely scrapped and it's not going to happen. I hope very much so that it is the first option. However, I gotta say, the original, you know, statement of it being just audio issues that delayed it, I believe that was definitely an issue, but I think that was a small amount of the actual issue. So I guess we'll just wait and see what happens with that. I think best case scenario is basically we get a 2023 DLC that comes out in maybe Daytona week. I think Motorsport Games should definitely look at that. You know, 2023 paint scheme pack during the Daytona 500 week or the Clash week, somewhere in there, and that would probably be perfect timing at this point. You can't put out a 2022 DLC now. I mean, it would be the most pointless thing you could possibly do. So we'll wait and see if updates become available. I would definitely let you guys know. I'm really hoping we hear something. That's another thing that grinds my gears, is how silent everything is right now. Is just be a little bit transparent, please, for the community. Transparency is such a good thing to have as a company, no matter what industry you're in, and we're not really getting any of that, and I really hope that we can sometime soon. However, that leads us into this 2023 that we're talking about. What does the future hold? Do we get a new NASCAR game or not? We know, of course, they took 2022 off from the main NASCAR game series after the rocky release of NASCAR 21 Ignition, and they were focusing on taking 2022 off to put out a really good 2023 game. But with all of the issues at Motorsport Games right now, do we get a 2023 NASCAR game? Let me know down below what you think is going to happen. I don't even know. I really genuinely don't know what to think, because just when you think that you know, almost like the company is about to go down, it's like they kind of get back up again, and you don't really ever seem to know what in the world is going to happen with Motorsport Games in the future of NASCAR gaming and other Motorsport games as well, like the IndyCar game and whatnot that's due this year, which we don't know if that's going to come out either. But you know, best case scenario, we get a 2023 NASCAR game. I am hopeful. I think NASCAR needs a game to come out this year. Motorsport Games, I'm sure, still wants to get out a game this year, and I think really what they need to focus on for the 2023 game, I know they talked about using a new game engine and whatnot for like the physics model and stuff, but they really just need to focus on putting out what NASCAR 21 Ignition should have been, a complete game. Honestly, you don't need to even give us any extra features. In my opinion, that's just my personal preference. Don't build upon anything. Just give us the complete version of NASCAR 21 Ignition with the 2023 cars, of course, what that game should have been. And there's so much potential, because that's another thing. NASCAR 21 Ignition, although there's so many issues that I still cannot play it to have an enjoyable time, you can see so much potential in there, and that's probably the most disappointing thing of that game. There's so much potential there that none of it was capitalized on. So simply just give us a 2023 game that is complete, you know, bug free. Of course there's going to be bugs at some point, but nothing that's, you know, there's bugs everywhere in Ignition. So just clean up everything, make it polished, make it playable, make it enjoyable. The AI, in my opinion, needs to be completely reworked at literally every single circuit in the game. The graphics, of course, those are already really good. The audio is pretty solid. Like, there's potential there, and I think that with time they can get something good. But of course, do they have the time now is the question for 2023. But that's kind of where I stand, is I don't know, and I'm terrified, to be honest with you. I think 2022 as a NASCAR content creator was the most difficult, challenging year I have had so far, trying to like come up with different types of content to do, because of course we're not getting a new NASCAR game and everything's just going down in general. Of course, when there's not a NASCAR game coming out in the 2022 year, it was so difficult. And honestly, I was shocked and happy in myself that I managed to get through the whole year and continue to produce content that I enjoyed putting out, and I hope you guys enjoyed as well. I don't know, but it was very difficult. And of course, the NASCAR Heat 5 DLC that was supposed to come out in October, there was so much excitement for that, and then they absolutely pulled it away from me and delayed it to a whole nother year that we still don't know what is going on there with that either. So yeah, it's such an interesting spot for NASCAR gaming to be in. I mean, can we go another year without a NASCAR game? Are we gonna get one this year? I really have no idea, but that's kind of a timeline of where we are at here in the NASCAR gaming world over the last, you know, couple years, and where we are going in 2023 with so much unknowns. That's the scary part. There's just such a massive unknown right now in the NASCAR gaming community, and we can only hope for the best. Of course, you look at iRacing, you have iRacing as an option, but of course it's so expensive at the same time. You will always get those people that compare iRacing to the actual NASCAR game that comes out, and if you compare iRacing to the actual NASCAR game that comes out and say, oh, this one's better, iRacing's better than this, I cannot take your opinion seriously, because the NASCAR games and iRacing are not trying to compete with each other. They're going for completely different demographics of players, and it just makes zero sense to compare the two. I myself enjoy both styles of NASCAR gaming. The full-blown sim, not full-blown sim, but quite hard sim of iRacing, and then you get the more simcade of the NASCAR games. They're both a lot of fun when you open your mind to it. So I really hope that we have a good year in NASCAR gaming, but only time will tell. Like I said, let me know down below what you think the future is currently holding for NASCAR gaming in 2023. Do we get a game this year or not? Do we get the 2023 DLC for NASCAR Heat 5, or is that scrapped as well? I don't know. There's so many unknowns. That's kind of the whole point here. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.